The Two Barques by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, narrated by Peter Coates. Careening was a very necessary operation for the old pirate. On his superior speed he depended both for overhauling the trader and escaping the man-of-war. But it was impossible to retain his sailing qualities unless he periodically, once a year at the least, cleared his vessel's bottom from the long trailing plants and crusting barnacles which gather so rapidly in the tropical seas. For this purpose he lightened his vessel, thrust her into some narrow inlet where she would be left high and dry at low water, fastened blocks and tackles to her mast to pull her over onto her bilge, and then scraped her thoroughly from rudder posts to cutwater. During the weeks which were thus occupied the ship was of course defenceless, but on the other hand she was unapproachable by anything heavier than an empty hull, and the place for careening was chosen with an eye to secrecy, so there was no great danger. So secure did the captains feel that it was not uncommon for them at such times to leave their ships under a sufficient guard and to start off in the longboat, either upon a sporting expedition or, more frequently, upon a visit to some outlying town, where they burned the heads of the women by their swaggering gallantry, or broached pipes of wine in the market square, with a threat to pistol all who would not drink with them. Sometimes they would even appear in cities of the size of Charleston, and walk the streets with their clattering sidearms, an open scandal to the whole law-abiding colony. Such visits were not always paid with impunity. It was one of them, for example, which provoked Lieutenant Maynard to hack off Blackbeard's head and to spear it upon the end of his bowsprit. But as a rule the pirate ruffled and bullied and drabbed without let or hindrance, until it was time for him to go back to his ship once more. There was one pirate, however, who never crossed even the skirts of civilization, and that was the sinister Sharkey of the barque Happy Delivery. It may have been from his morose and solitary temper, or, as is more probable, that he knew that his name upon the coast was such that outraged humanity would, against all odds, have thrown themselves upon him, but never once did he show his face in a settlement. When his ship was laid up, he would leave her under the charge of Ned Galloway, a New England quartermaster, and would take long voyages in his boat. Sometimes, it was said, for the purpose of burying his share of the plunder, and sometimes to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?